Hi, this is Tammy, your integrated body coach, and welcome back to week 3 of our 30-day Take Back Your Life program, where we're laying a foundation for our 90-day transformation and setting in motion in 2023 the life that you want to live. So we are looking at lasting change, long-term results, and I just thank you for joining me and sticking with me to this point in the program. If you're just jumping in now, I encourage you to go back to day 1 to the introduction and go through the entire program because it kind of builds on itself. But this week we're going to be talking about physical fitness and just what cardio and resistance training are, how to put together a fitness plan that works for you in light of what you have and the resources you have and what you enjoy and like to do. But there's no two ways around it. Physical activity is the best way to increase your calorie burn and to build your body's infrastructure to what it was designed to be. We're designed to be mobile. And although everybody has different goals when it comes to fitness and training, we all need to have mobility in order to really experience the highest quality of life. So in the beginning, if you intend to lose weight and maintain your lean body mass, this is an absolute non-negotiable part of the program. So as you improve your eating, which we've been talking about last week, manage your calories and feed your body what it needs when it needs it. Don't be surprised if you find yourself approaching exercise from an entirely new perspective. Okay, you will likely find yourself with lots more energy to move and thus begin to reap the additional benefits of exercise, such as stress reduction and improved overall focus. And the more you move, the better you're going to feel, and then the more you're going to want to move again. So it's a very positive cycle that you want to get onto. So in order to sustain long-term weight management, again, physical fitness is a must. So it comes in week 3 of the program because it's really secondary to managing your inner elephant and learning to eat properly. Sometimes we go out and we exercise, and sometimes that's why they say exercise is not the main thing about losing weight, even though it is a core part of it. But oftentimes you go out and you climb a hill or you run or you do some exercise and you think, oh man, I just killed it. I'm going to go eat pizza and drink beer now for the rest of the night. And so we can cycle up on the scale really because we psychologically feel like we can eat a lot more. And a lot of times when people jump off with an exercise program, the result is that they begin to really drive up their calories. And so we want to approach the two mindfully and carefully and with a purpose and with a strategy, especially if weight loss is your goal. So this week is going to be about laying some basic exercise foundations and understanding of your physiology. We're going to get your baseline starting point and then go over different types of exercise and how to leverage each one and put together a program so that you can enjoy and see measurable results. So with that, let's jump into day 1. And did you know that weight loss and body composition are two very different but related things? That's our topic today. When we talk about weight loss, what we typically mean is we want to reduce the amount of fat on our bodies and probably increase or at least not lose our lean muscle mass. And so this is what the term body composition refers to. What does your overall body weight consist of? Maybe you've heard that muscle is heavier than fat. Well, that's true. And muscle also requires more energy to support it than fat does. So as you build muscle and bone density, your body becomes more of an energy burner. And this is a good thing, especially if you're small like me, because that means you can eat more food. And so this is very helpful if you're trying to maintain a certain body size on the maximum number of calories possible. So just think Prius versus Porsche in terms of gas use, okay? Or if you desire size, maybe a Mitsubishi versus a Hummer. You will not hurt the environment by turning your body into a high energy burning vehicle, okay? This is one area where we can burn lots of fuel and still not kill the trees. So for health purposes, it's important to manage your total percentage of body fat. And this is kind of what we're going to be talking about. So when this number gets too high, when your body fat percentage gets too high, your risk of various diseases increases significantly. It's also helpful to know what these numbers are when you're trying to lose weight. And because if you're working the plan and getting in your exercise, you might easily be building muscle while reducing fat, and the scale is just not going to reflect this. And this can be very frustrating and demotivating. I know it's happened to me all the time. I have a scale that gives me my body, it's a bioelectric measuring scale, and it gives me my percentages of fat and muscle and lean body mass. And it's very encouraging because oftentimes I start working out, I'm building muscle, losing fat, and the scale just doesn't move. And if all I was looking at is the number on the scale, I would want to quit. So, but when you can see that you've lost 6 pounds of fat and gained 3 pounds of muscle, oh my gosh, that's a very different story than just a 3-pound weight loss. So that is very impressive. It's good to know and important to know that we all need a certain amount of fat. It's called essential fat to hold our organs in place and regulate body temperature. And there's an American Council on Exercise guidelines, and I put a link below. According to that, women need at least 10 to 13% of this kind of fat, while men need a minimum of 2 to 5% of this kind of fat. So your overall level of fitness then determines the optimal levels of fat beyond that. Very fit women generally should maintain a minimum of 14 to 15% body fat. Men maybe 6 to 13%. At the top end, greater than 25% body fat for men and greater than 32% body fat for women puts you in the overweight or beyond that obese category. And the problem with that is simply that you are at a higher risk of certain health, negative health factors. And so it's good to maintain that body fat percent under those numbers. So you can look up the charts online, you can find greater breakdowns. Now again, every body is different, and these are just general guidelines based on, normal population studies. And so if you're outside these numbers, you might want to discuss it, your health risks with a physician or registered dietitian or a personal trainer, and see what you can do about bringing those back into a healthier range. So how do you determine these numbers? Now, some people desire a very detailed breakdown of body composition and to know exactly how much is muscle, how much is bone, how much is fat, how much is water. Other people are content with the general answer to the question, am I at a healthy weight? So here's some approaches. We have various approaches to determining what is our actual body composition. Quick and simple is body mass index. You've probably heard the term BMI. It's a body mass index. That's a calculation that's done, and it's a quick way to determine if you're at a relatively healthy weight in relation to your height, and that is if you're not an outlier. This is a quick way to determine if you're at a relatively healthy weight in relation to your height. Now, it becomes less accurate in people who lie outside the average range in height or muscle density, but it's a good starting point. Okay, so you can find a chart online, and there's a link below, or just Google it, or simply take your weight in kilograms divided by your height in centimeters and square it. Okay, that's how you get your BMI. So you go to the BMI calculator or do the math that I just described, and if your underweight is anything less than 18.5 BMI, you're considered underweight. Normal is between 18.5 and 24.9. Overweight is considered 25 to 29.9, and obese is considered 30 or more. The lowest disease risk area in there is actually 22 to 24.9. So that's your people with those BMIs tend to have the least disease. That's just a statistic. Okay, so that's BMI. Another way to look at this or figure this out is called a bioelectric impedance scale, and that is where there's a number of reasonably priced scales on the market today that will send a slight, unnoticeable electric current through your body and calculate the amount of fat versus non-fat that you're carrying based on the density of your body tissue. Some will even give you a percentage of muscle and fat. And so these vary widely in their level of accuracy, but they can be a great resource to show you changes that your body is making and if you're moving in the right direction. So if you're doing this, if you're using one of these, it's important to weigh consistently when you weigh. So ideally wake up, use the bathroom, and then get on the scale. Same time every day. And then water weight and intestinal contents can make a significant difference in these numbers. So know that as you get on the scale. What did you just eat? How might that be affecting it? And also be aware that you're not going to see much significant change in less than 2 weeks. So if you're somebody who gets a little discouraged or, a little OCD about the number on the scale, it might be a good idea to only weigh on a weekly or every other week basis, especially with those detailed, numbers, because those aren't going to change radically in a short period of time. And our water weight and intestinal contents can make a big difference in that number. And so it can look like we're really fluctuating a lot. But real change is going to reflect itself over a week or two. And so, and then during the time in between, just focus on sticking to your program and doing the work. Again, initial weight loss beyond a pound or 2 per week is most often water being released as you reduce your amount of concentrated sugars and inflammatory foods. And so it's not a bad thing, but it can be disillusioning if you begin to expect that every week. One more thing on these scales, it's important to use the same scale if you're going to really try and have an idea of whether you're gaining muscle and losing fat, because one scale might tell you you're 28% body fat, whereas the same day another scale might tell you you're 24% body fat, because of just the difference in how those scales are reading you, because they're not 100% accurate. So if you're going to use one of these scales, realize that you want to see trends in the right direction, but don't put too much stock in the exact accuracy of the exact number of the percentages of your body composition. Okay, another way to look at your body composition and measure it is through caliper skin fold tests. And if you've ever worked out with a trainer, maybe you've had these measurements taken. It's done by a trained individual who uses special calipers to measure the skin fold at different sites on the body. So there's key sites on your back, behind your arm, your waist, maybe your thigh. And then these measurements are added together and referenced to a table that calculates your total body fat percentage. Now this can be, if you have a good skilled measurer, these can be very accurate. And they can be done at most local fitness centers or by any personal trainer. They're about as accurate as the skill of the person taking them. And as with all forms of measurement, consistency is the key to meaningful results. So it's best to have the same person do the measuring if possible. So if you're going to compare today's results with next month's results, make sure it's the same person measuring to get more accurate comparison. Okay, next one, and this is the most advanced thing that you can do. It's called either hydrostatic weighing and DEXA scans. So these are more advanced measurements that must be done with special equipment and come typically at a significantly higher cost. You can search online for a facility near you that conducts these. All of the body composition measurements available, DEXA scans are the most accurate. Okay, and then there's one more really super simple way. The simplest and most economic way to track progress is via inches. Break out the old tape measure and measure away. So when we lose fat, our bodies tend to have their own pattern of releasing it. So inches can be another encouraging tracking measure. For health purposes, the waist-hip ratio is a valid and informative predictor of health risk. So if you are of a body type that carries fat around your midsection, they call that like the apple shape, then your risk of excess fat on your health is going to be higher than if you carry it around your hips or thighs, which they refer to as a pear shape. So that's just the way it is. Weight carried up around our midsection has a greater impact on your organs and your heart and your digestive health and all that. And so it is a higher risk. And so it is more important health-wise to manage that fat percentage that's carried there. And that's why the waist-hip ratio is such a key predictor, an effective predictor of health risk. So if you in order to calculate this, you measure your waist at the smallest part or your belly button, maybe just above your belly button, and then measure your hips at their widest part, divide the waist by the hip, and ladies, you should be less than 0.9. I'm sorry, ladies should be less than 0.8, and men should be less than 0.9 on that calculation. If you're above that, then you run the risk of some health complications. So other key areas to measure in order to track progress and is your neck, your chest, I would say right at the nipple, your waist, and I always do the smallest part of the waist or right at your belly button, and your hips, the widest part, upper thigh, widest part, calf, bicep, and for your bicep, just bend your elbow and flex and kind of go halfway between your shoulder and elbow or your widest part. So the key here, the reason I say widest part or smallest part, is so you can consistently measure at the same place every time. Because otherwise you're not going to get an accurate comparison. So pick a location that you can be consistent. So you'll find that maybe one week you lose some diameter from your waist and hips. Okay, next week maybe you won't lose anything there, but you do lose in your thighs or upper arms, and then maybe you lose in your neck. So like we said before, your body has its own way of shedding weight, and if you only measure in one place, you might go 3 weeks, 4 weeks and feel like you're not losing anything when really you are, but just from different parts of your body. So that's why I encourage multiple places of measuring. If you're not interested in doing all these measurements, that's okay. You just notice how your clothes feel, and that can be a huge indicator of changes taking place. So again, everybody's unique. We all have different levels of OCD, different levels of detail orientation, different levels of interest, and so pick something that works for you and then just stick with that as your measuring stick. But I do encourage you to have a measuring stick. So with that, our journaling for today is to take a few moments again and reflect on how you feel about your current body condition. As you sit here today, how do you feel? And then do you feel hopeful in obtaining the results that you want? Sometimes pulling out the old measuring stick or scale is scary and can be kind of demoralizing, okay? But knowing your starting point is also very empowering. Spend some time just journaling positive messages to yourself as you begin the fitness portion of this program and prepare to see real and lasting results. I assure you that there is hope and there is possibility. And if nothing else changes, just physically getting out and moving is going to increase your health metrics. It's going to make you healthier. It's going to help your every aspect of your body work better. So exercise, whether you lose weight, don't lose weight, gain weight, physical fitness and moving is going to help move you into a healthier and better feeling direction. Okay, resources. There are some resources out there. As far as scales, there's lots of scales. I just highlighted 2 down below. One is a Wise scale. It's very inexpensive and comes with a great app. Okay, I had one of these and I really like it. Accuracy of these devices varies, but this should be adequate for your needs for tracking your own weight and seeing. It's a good interactive app it's nice, and you can have multiple users on one scale. Omron scale is another one. Again, there's a link below. This is a little more costly. I also have this one. I like it. I'm not sure it's any better for the extra money, but it's another resource out there that I've used and I like, and I think, again, I don't know, I can't speak to the accuracy of either one of these. And your challenge for the day is bite the bullet and take some measurements. Do as much as you have time for and are willing to do. At minimum, document your weight and waist-hip ratio. Or if you don't have a tape measure, just do your BMI. Calculate that on the app. The more detail you include here, the greater your ability will be to track your progress and celebrate your successes, okay? The other thing I encourage you to do is just take a picture. I know before pictures, if you're like me, I've got 100 of them, and I never get to the after picture, right? But who cares? Take the before picture, because when you do get to the after picture, you're going to really be glad that you did, and so you can compare. Because we don't see it. When we live in these bodies, we don't see the changes that take place. So that's what makes these so powerful. And then plan to do this again in 2 weeks as far as your measurements go. So that's your challenge. With that, I thank you for sticking with me to this point, and I'm excited to get into this week of fitness and work out a plan that you can do that's going to help you reach your goals for 2023. Be sure to like and subscribe, share this with somebody who you think might benefit from it, and I will see you back here tomorrow.